Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates and my Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order review. Just a quick note, I'm gonna keep this 99% spoiler free, and with what I mean with that is I'm not gonna spoil any major reveals or anything like that, but I'll basically say like, oh, I like the ending, oh, I like this part, without going into too much specific. So if you haven't played the game yet, you should be fine to watch this video, but if you want to be like 100% certain, maybe skip it out. I'm also not gonna show any footage from the end of the game, but try to keep it to the first couple of hours, because it should hopefully at least explain my thought process and what I talk about. So yeah, I am a little bit, a few days late to this, I guess you would say, or like a week depending on how you see it, because I decided to not just play through the entire game right away, as I had quite a bit of limited time, and I also noticed that it was a lot of fun to put out a video at a time and then read your feedback, whether it was suggestions on how I can improve, or maybe sometimes I've helped you guys with a puzzle. I thought that was very fun, so I'm glad I took my time to play through this game and, well, read your comments about how I'm playing, because one thing is for sure, I'm not the best at the lightsaber combat. I've not mastered it by far, and I did struggle with a lot of the boss fights. But puzzles I was a little bit better at. I did miss a lot of obvious stuff, but there was also quite a lot of comments from you guys saying I helped you out with the puzzles and so on. So while we're talking about difficulty, I did play most of the game except for I think one boss on Jedi Knight difficulty. At one point I gave up and switched to story mode, and I switched back afterwards. But overall, like, I'm so happy with this game. I think it took me 15 hours to complete it, and that was without going any exploring at all. I still have plenty of exploring to do. I do also want to try Grandmaster, so my goal is to do, once I'm back streaming, basically do a Grandmaster playthrough, which is going to take a lot of raging, a lot of time, but I will do that, and I will explore everything so I get as many stims as possible and so on. But yeah, overall the game, fantastic. I love everything from the visuals to the gameplay, to the story, to the cinematics, music. There's not a lot of complaints I have about this game, really. It's exactly what I hoped for in a single player game, and I love how the story kind of carries itself without relying too much on other stuff in Star Wars media. Like, yeah, sure, sometimes it'll be like, oh, that character, or oh, that planet, but most of it is new characters, locations, enemies, and I think that just shows the strength of this game. It doesn't have to rely on nostalgia, it doesn't have to rely on too much, well, known stuff, but it's mostly new stuff that will now be a part of the Star Wars canon universe. And there's a lot of things I wanted to bring up that I really liked, such as the way the map was designed, where, like, for instance, if you go one path, that's the only path forward, but when you get to that specific point at the map, like at the end or the tunnel, you learn something new, which means that when you go back, you will take a completely different path. So they make you go back the same way you've already come, but it's always a new way. There's new enemies, there's new paths, there's new abilities you've learned. And it just felt like the map design that way was really good. And I haven't played too many puzzle games, but it almost reminded me of Portal a little bit. Maybe not the best comparison, but where you learn a new thing and you gotta combine all the things you've learned to think, how do I get past this particular obstacle by combining the various mechanics that you've just learned. And sometimes you might forget, oh, this thing I learned back then, I can now use to get past this. And that's a thought process that I really liked, and I thought the balance between combat and puzzles was pretty much perfect. And yeah, sure, in my playthrough you'll see me raging a little bit. That's because my patience is really bad, not because the game is bad. That's a good thing. They made the puzzles challenging, they made the bosses challenging, and I don't have a lot of patience. Simple as that, really. So in hindsight, that was really good. It challenged me, which a single player game should. And again, that was on Jedi Knight difficulty. Imagine if you're playing on Grandmaster. So that's something I really loved. And the learning curve, since you learn abilities throughout the entire game, was also very good. Something I would have liked, though, is that if you could go back afterwards when you've learned everything and kind of face off against all the bosses again. I don't think you can do that. But one thing that we got to play test at EA Play was something I think they call the Gauntlet, where basically there was waves of enemies, very basic, and it was only like stormtroopers and I think it was one purge trooper. But imagine that, but with everything in the game, every boss, every character ranked by their strength, basically. Start with the easiest, go over to the strongest, and then that's something I would love to see after you completed the game. So I guess that's not really a complaint, but a request, really, that I would love to see them add to the game. And customization wise, I think lightsaber, fantastic. You can change a lot of things with the lightsaber, simply put, color wise and other things. Obviously parts to the lightsaber. And I thought that was great. The customization for the ship, BD1, and the clothes were a little bit lackluster, if I'm gonna be honest. The different ponchos for Cal was kind of boring, if I'm gonna be honest. At the end, I kind of just stopped caring about it, because lightsaber was the only thing that felt significant. Something else that I really liked, save point system, where you get to these meditation spots where you can obviously heal up and save and use your skill points. But I like that you get to choose, do you want to heal up fully, but then you will respawn all the enemies. So you always had this dilemma of, do I need to go back the same way? Then I probably shouldn't use the heal. But if I don't need to go back the same way, maybe I should use the heal. Sometimes you'll make the wrong decision, sometimes you'll make the right decision. And I thought that was just a mechanic that, well, a lot of people, many games it might just be, oh, you ran past this point, now you got full health and you saved. But this one had a lot more fun mechanic to that, I gotta say. And in terms of the amount of enemies, that was also something I was impressed with. I was really afraid before the game came out that it would be very limited with just some stormtroopers, maybe a spider or two. But there was plenty of different animals and enemies on all the different planets. I don't want to go into too much specifics, but there was no complaints there at all. Every planet you came to, there was new enemies, and there was new ways to tackle them. And that's something that added a lot of depth to the game, simply put. So yeah, overall, I'm just so happy with this game, and I want to discuss this more with you guys on streams in the future, where I can talk a little bit more freely, answer your questions and so on. But I think this kind of explains at least my thought process playing this game and things that I did struggle with, but not because the game was bad, but because I was bad. And then the story overall. Experiencing a canon story this way is just fantastic, with the cinematics, with everything, and I want more. That's all I'll say. Give me more Star Wars Jedi games, or more single-player games of this quality. I mean, even the Battlefront 2 campaign was really good, but this was a whole other level. But just experiencing canon linear story in a game is, in my opinion, fantastic, and I want more of it. And based on some tweets I've seen from industry people, it seems like they might already be working on more Star Wars Jedi stuff. Nothing confirmed, but I would love to see that. But yeah, I think that wraps up my thoughts on the game. So if you guys want to watch my playthrough, the playlist will be in the description below. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.